Broker episode 8 of Tomorrow begins Jun Woong recounting the previous case he worked on, writing up his report, and realizing that the nitrogen canisters in Yina's room were bought online. But from who? That's something Jun Woong is curious about too, and he heads out to see Ms. Shin, talking in a coffee shop. She mentions how she posted on social media, but then someone reached out and contacted her. Whoever this is operates out of a van and they only work in cryptocurrency too. They're making money from those in need, profiting from suicidal and vulnerable individuals. Jun Woong is not happy, but Ryan Gu is quick to point out that they can't intervene in human affairs or use their powers in front of them either. Unless they're Yunad's boss, of course, in which case that's fair game, right, Ryan? The others are more concerned about Employee Evaluation Month, wanting good recommendations. Jun Woong believes they should try and do something to stop this profiteering scam artist instead. Only, Ryan Gu tells him that they're not in the business of justice. Unfortunately, going to the police doesn't help, with Jun Woong shrugged off and told to bring them more concrete evidence to back up his claims. Realizing that he's on his own, Jun Woong decides to head on social media and try to root them out himself, writing up a depressing status. Someone called Grim Reaper messages and even sends a video over, demonstrating what this gas does to an individual by using a hamster cage. Apparently, the one in charge of this has tried to commit suicide in the past, given they have depression, and encourages everyone to join together and commit a mass suicide. Jun Woong decides to play along and is given a location. Back at the office, Jun Woong takes out all the weapons inside the nearby locker and decides to use this for the upcoming mission. It's only supposed to be used for emergencies, but given he's alone in this office, Jun Woong sees it as fair game. With the gear in hand, Jun Woong shows up at the designated location assigned by Grim Reaper. There are several other people here too, although the Grim Reaper, whom we later find out is called Song Jin-ho, hasn't shown up yet. For now, this rabble of suicidal people all sit and share their stories, discussing their woes and what's led them to this point. After sharing their stories, Jun Woong notices a truck pull up with who he believes to be Grim Reaper outside. The man there has several canisters, and it's enough for Jun Woong to drop his facade and pleads with the others to leave. He hands them all a business card and ushers them out the building. Jun Woong also points out that this man is only using them to recruit more people to his scam. Jun Woong eventually fights with the scammer, but he's too strong and easily knocks him down, at least to begin with anyway. Jun Woong gets the upper hand, knocks the man clean out, and then finds himself clocked over the head by the real Jin-ho, who happens to be one of the suicidal men, codenamed Betamail. When Jun Woong awakens, he finds himself tied up. This isn't about money for Jin-ho, but more about motivation and drive. Every time he sees someone else die, it makes him want to live. He's deranged and psychotic, finding joy in seeing others pass away. Thankfully, Ryan Gu and Ryan work out where Jun Woong is located, courtesy of the former adding a child location app on his phone. After saving Jun Woong, Ryan chases after the Grim Reaper and beats him down. In doing so though, it actually causes Jin-ho to become suicidal and hit the red light. He takes some poison, prompting Ryan and Ryan Gu to change tact and try to save him. Jun Woong can't bring himself to do this. The theme throughout this whole episode has been justice and doing one's job, something that Jun Woong decides to turn his back on. In fact, he outright decides to quit the RM team. Just as he does, Jun Gil appears out of thin air and promises that Jin-ho will be punished eternally by burning in hell. Jun Gil is disgusted to find the team are working to save someone like him, and unfortunately, all of this is left up to Jun Woong to decide what to do. Eventually he succumbs to his better nature and phones 911. Back at the office, Ryan Gu talks to Jun Woong about Ryan's past. She too is a brat, his words, and hot-tempered over all of these cases, but really, keeping these individuals alive means a punishment far worse than death. As a token of goodwill, Ryan Gu hands over video evidence of Jin-ho being the ringleader in this whole suicide deal online. Off the back of this, police arrive to arrest Jin-ho. Now, Jin-ho has survived, but he'll live for another 18 years, unable to speak or hear in that time. It's a fate worse than hell, and something Jun Woong is content with. Later that day, Jun Woong overhears Ryan Gu and Ryan talking about the incident involving Jin-ho. Ryan believes he influenced Jun Woong's decision, but for now, the Reaper is holding his cards close to his chest. He shrugs this off though and instead focuses on his own nightmares, the ones we've seen snippets of throughout the past few episodes. He wonders just why Ryan has been in them. This cliffhanger soon paves way for a pretty funny epilogue, as Ryan and Ryan Gu bemoan all the prank calls they seem to be getting. Remember the business cards Jun Woong handed out to those suicidal people? Well, it turns out that's where they're calling from. Tomorrow returns with a morally conflicting episode, one that does contradict itself a little while telling its story. We're constantly referencing back to the rules that these Reapers break all the time. Ryan specifically tells them all they can't get involved in human affairs, but yet he's made that boss have constant stomach problems every time he makes fun of someone. I know that may be justice, but it's also in direct contradiction to the very rules she keeps harking on about. In terms of this case though, there's an intriguing moral dilemma when it comes to saving those who try to kill themselves when they themselves have been encouraging others to die. This confliction is great to see, but it's a shame that most of these cases have been wrapped up with a neat little bow. Hopefully those ahead will have a bit more moral ambiguity and leave things on a sobering or challenging note. With less humor this time and more straightforward drama, Tomorrow delivers another decent episode, even if it is still struggling to find a consistent tone this late in the game.